Greetings and salutations, young true believers. So, in this debate between Daniel Howard Snyder and Kevin McCain and Ted Poston, Poston and McCain are the Coherentists. That is to say, they subscribe to the web of belief view of knowledge that all beliefs hang together in a web. Um, the beliefs in the center of the web are slightly more immune to revision than are the beliefs that are on the fringes of the web, but nevertheless, all beliefs in the web depend on one another in a coherent web for support, hence the name coherentism, uh, as opposed to the foundationalism that Daniel Howard Snyder subscribes to. He, he being Snyder, Howard Snyder, that is, argues that there are certain beliefs that are fundamental, right, foundational, if you will, and they don't depend for their justification upon anything. Rather, it's the case that other beliefs depend upon their justification, excuse me, on these fundamental foundational beliefs. And obviously, the great historical example of a foundational belief was Descartes' cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Descartes believed that couldn't be questioned under penalty of irrationality, right? That was just a fundamental, again, foundational belief in epistemology, and you could build up the entire edifice of human knowledge, including scientific and mathematical knowledge, from that belief because it was so unshakable, right? All right. So, as McCain and Poston note here, the disagreement between coherentists and foundationalists doesn't come down to whether experiences play a role in justification, but how experiences contribute to the justification of beliefs. Coherentists claim that experiences contribute to justification of belief only when they are part of a coherent system of other experiences and beliefs. Foundationalists claim that an experience can justify a belief by itself, just solely by itself, right? So this is the real issue between coherentism and foundationalism, and it's the heart of our disagreement with Howard Snyder, right? Um, and I note that Howard Snyder defends his view for foundationalism by appealing to what he calls a common sense belief, right? Specifically, he presents examples of justified beliefs where he thinks it's intuitive that experiences play a role in justifying those beliefs. As Howard Snyder says, each of these cases is such that, quote, the subject holds the belief on the basis of something that makes the belief very likely to be true experience. Now, this is the problem for Howard Snyder, according to Poston and McCain, and indeed myself, right? Um, Experience absolutely can justify belief. There's no question of that. But the question is, can experience by itself justify belief? And that's where the divide comes in. Again, Snyder thinks the answer to that question is yes, but as Poston and McCain point out, there are several assumptions that go into this view, right? And again, gang, if you're wondering how you can argue against philosophers as an undergraduate, always look for the assumptions, and there will always be assumptions. What kind of assumptions does Howard Snyder make? He takes it for granted, for example, that we know certain things. Certain things are just obvious, and they don't need to be commented upon by the foundationalists, right? Um, so as Poston and McCain put it, this is page 87 of the text, right? Howard Snyder's first example mentions his justified belief that he feels achy and hungry. He rightly notes that his experiences of feeling achy and hungry play a central role in justifying this belief. But misstep, though, is to infer that these experiences do all the justifying work. It isn't just the experiences that justify Howard Snyder's belief. He also relies on background information, right? So let's talk about this concept. This is an extremely important concept for the philosopher and indeed for any good critical thinker. Background information refers to the sum total of everything you know based on two things. One, your direct experience. How did you learn to fire burn? You stuck your hand in the fire, you got burned. Two, your formal education, right? Any belief that is in serious disharmony, if you will, right, with your background beliefs. Like, for example, you hear someone claim that a human being ran a mile in less than 2 minutes. That's in serious disharmony with your background information, right? The biggest charge that coherentists make against the foundationalists is that you just assume this background information um, is uncontroversial itself, right? What justified that, right? Other experiences that had to be built up, and it wasn't built up from foundational knowledge. It was just accumulated. It tied in together. It again formed a coherent whole, right? As they go on, for instance, at a minimum, Howard Snyder relies on his beliefs about what it feels like to be achy and hungry. After all, if Howard Snyder didn't already believe that this is what achy and hungry feels like, right? He wouldn't be in a position, to identify the feelings he currently experiences as achy and hungry experiences. Without these background beliefs, Howard Snyder would have no reason to believe that his present experiences are of being achy and hungry rather than, say, itchy and satisfied, right? So what is really foundational? Are any purely foundational beliefs? Or are they all tied in with other beliefs, which would make coherentism the much more rational and tenable position to take up?